Good afternoon. The Building Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 will now come to order at, what is it, 4:02? 4:02. Okay, thank you, because I can't see it from here. We'll go around the table and introduce ourselves mainly for the recorder. I'll start by saying Shirley Mazinski.
Linda Brown.
Fred Fontaine.
Bob Wormy.
And Ray.
Ray Klotz.
And our two executive, Matt and Matt. Thank you. Okay, highway building project. Can you fill us in where we are with this?
We've asked the landowner to come talk to us about possible price.
Okay, thank you. So it's still in process. Thank you. Next item is status of projects in progress. Oil spill.
There's no change there.
Okay, no change. Green communities.
So in your packet, there are some quotes from Innovus Energy. These are a year old, so I guess what we're looking for is, I guess this committee's choice of a project to be considered for a green community grant this fall, and then we would then get updated invoices from Innovus. I didn't want to ask for all of them at this time, because it'd be a considerable amount of work. Not sure which ones we'll be looking for. So the first one is the transformers on all of our, I believe, the high school, middle school, and elementary schools. These may or may not get grant funding. The reason was because they're not at the certain threshold of age, but they're getting there.
Okay, I mean, you're on to it. So the return on investment is too long of a period. And the efficiency gain from the technology we have currently installed to the new technology is minimal. So the generation prior to that, the efficiencies that have been squeezed out of transformers were significant. But that is no longer true with this generation of equipment, so I think we were going to take a pass. What we need this information for, and what everyone in town, including the school committee, needs to pay careful attention to, is that this equipment is at the end of its useful life. And if you look at the bottom line, you know, even with a rebate, you're still looking at a $150,000 project. So as we go forward in the capital process, this is information for the school administration, the school committee, and the capital committee members. This hasn't been showing up on their requests at the schools. They're not paying attention to this. But our energy consultant is.
Yep.
So this is actually more about service reliability than efficiency. One of these things goes, we have to fix it right away. So
Sure.
it needs to be addressed.
Questions, anybody?
Next page was the Douglas Fire Department heat pumps. This project fits within, so what we get funded for is $100,000 from green communities. This one fits within that. It's $87,000. This project, the payback period is 7 years. This could get approved if applied for. If it gets approved project this year.
I have a question. So
Yep.
if they still want to put an addition on the fire department, should this be on hold until?
Yeah, so we're not doing this. I might as well talk about it now. The engineer, so McRitchie Engineering, is recommending that we maintain the existing commercial-grade furnace and boiler. We are going to downsize the furnace because we don't need to have the same thermal mass pushed through with a much more energy efficient building, so we're going to be doing some insulation, weatherization, other things.
Okay.
And basically, the plant is oversized. It was intended at the time that it was designed to heat the bays to a minimum temperature. And the exhaust system in the building was designed to take all the air from the bays and evacuate it in order to keep the air inside the building clean, which meant all that makeup air had to be heated again. So that's why we have such a large plant there. Now that we use exhaust capture systems that attach to the rear, we don't need to make up all the air inside the building. And when we try to evacuate the air, we're getting this negative pressure problem, which is causing the air quality in the building to suffer considerably. So the HVAC design is being completed. This is an update for later on your list. We're getting to the point where we're very close to being able to bid it out. And the heat pump concept is not going to be part of this design. We might be using so-called ceiling cassette units that will go into the drop ceiling for any addition that we build for living quarters. That project isn't ready for prime time.
Okay.
So the furnace is pretty much, you could build another whole fire station and heat it with that same furnace?
Well, yeah, that might be overshooting it just a wee bit, but you're close. And we
Yeah.
need the room in that space. So if you recall, that space had fuel tanks in it, as well as the heating equipment, and then the electrical cabinets were against the back wall.
Right.
The tanks are going outside
Okay.
with the generator, so that space will be freed up for the upgraded electrical service to be used in that corner as well as on the existing wall. But we're going to keep the furnace and the hot air. I'll say more in a second about the conference I was at yesterday, but I want Matt to be able to finish his.
Sure. Just one thing, Ray, speak up if you have any questions. Because you're on Zoom, I feel like I tend to forget to look up and say any questions.
Oh, that's okay. I'll certainly pipe up if I want.
Thank you.
questions.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
So the next project is the elementary school LEDs.
Yep,
LED lighting is generally favorable with green communities. This project far exceeds what our allotment would be
Oh.
on the green community grant. And this, with the estimated utility incentive, is a $222,000 project. We consider a 10% markup on that for this year's pricing. But we'd have to get more funds appropriated at town meeting or even approved by capital. I'm not sure how that would work. So unless they split this up, kind of like they did the high school, and divvy it up into two halves, I'm not sure. But the next project,
any questions on that?
Just a
Anybody?
comment, a simple payback of 4.3 years is outrageously good.
yeah, it is.
So, this would be the kind of thing that we might want to go to the capital committee and Springtown meeting, or even fall town meeting, if the funds are there, to do it, because it
Yeah,
just makes a lot of sense.
okay. Anybody? Comments? Okay, yep,
So then we have the Douglas Middle School. And this with the estimated utility incentive, this is an LED upgrade, same thing. This one is $147,000, but, looking at $100,000 in funding, $47,000, I'll get 10% markup on this too. About a $60,000 town match on this. I mean, another good project with a great payback period. But again, we need a revised estimate, and we'd also need money for capital account in order to
okay.
the match.
Questions, comments? Okay,
And the only one that fits in our actual scope is the post office. This is a very low-funded project. It's $15,000 for LED upgrades to the post office, 3.5-year payback period. It's the only one that really fits under the 100K of the estimates that we got from our consultant.
So this would
Question.
qualify.
Yes.
Yes, Linda.
And this quote is over a year old?
Yes, they all need to be updated.
Up
That's
to
what I was-
10%, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anybody?
I'm not sure what's the state post office situation. So,
Yeah, well, it'll be under lease for another couple of years at a minimum, so. Yesterday, I attended the National Grid Annual Energy Efficiency Conference.
Good.
I was probably the only town administrator there. It was mostly facilities managers, energy managers.
I usually go.
The multiplicity of programs and supports available now, either through Green Communities, but also just simply through National Grid, are really impressive and significant. And sitting there, this is one of the bullet points on my needs document for the select board, where I'm converting that number 2 position at the highway over to a facilities manager shared with the schools, because there's a tremendous amount of low-hanging fruit in this town with air handlers, chillers, variable speed fans, that all are subject to programs now that in the past were not. And the potential to marry, in cases where you have relatively new units on your rooftop, you can still marry those units to a heat pump system and recognize some really significant energy savings. The only tense moment, this was dork central, right? So you want plastic pocket protectors, slide rules, and propellers on the heads. This is what, it was down in the weeds, right? So lots of coffee. We had a state policymaker who clearly was either somehow attached to the governor's office and was real gung-ho, running up against industry realities, which was the only dynamic, creative moment of the day, or tense moment of the day, where he attempted to assert that the only acceptable solution was a 100% replacement to remove all existing systems, whether propane fired or not. And he got his comeuppance because the industry can tell you that if you just use your heat pump to reduce the use of your air handler, heater, chiller 50%, you will get 98% of the carbon reduction that you want. There's that long period of time in the shoulder seasons, we're in it right now. You might run your heat for the next couple of weeks at night and maybe even flick your air conditioning on during the day because of the humidity and other things. But when your heat runs intermittently is when it's going on and off, and firing up a lot, and using up a lot of its, or generating a lot of air quality issues. And when it's running hot during the winter and it's never really shutting off, it's actually running fairly efficiently. So the guy from the state didn't want to hear it, but he was wrong, right? So the reason why it's so important for municipalities is a lot of our systems, we've spent a lot of money on these rooftop units. And if it's only 3 or 4 years old, but we could add to its efficiency with a relatively inexpensive add, so we're not tearing anything out, and we still have it there as the ultimate security blanket if temperatures drop very, very low, which they haven't in years, but they could. It's a win-win, really, for us. And Grid is willing to fund that. So we have some investigation to do. We're going to have to push Innovus Energy a little bit harder to look at some of our equipment here. We do have variable speed fans downstairs in the boiler room, so the boiler that's relatively new, that was replaced in whenever that was, 2016, it's using a variable fan, and then the one in the gym is also a variable speed fan. But these things can be made much more efficient now and fit out. So I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities there that would be, the most important thing is there's some really great technical assistance, so you don't need to hire a mechanical engineer. They send one to you who identifies your product and goes through all of the calculations and basically points you in the direction of the
National
solution.
Grid would send one?
Yes. So you can get up to like $60,000 worth of engineering help with some of these things. So you don't have to hire that individual expert, you can go through Grid. So we'll be working on that. That kind of concludes this green energy conversation, green communities conversation. All the low-hanging fruit has been picked. We've got a couple of lighting projects left. Across the Commonwealth, lighting projects were the majority of the savings for a long period of time. Now it's down to about, 25, 30% of their annual projects are lighting projects. So everybody's wrapping these up. So that's what we're going to try to do, is wrap them up, and then we're going to look deeper into our energy consumption patterns to find efficiencies.
Anybody, questions
So
for?
we don't have to choose any of these.
Well, if you're asking me right now, I would say definitely the post office should go forward, because that's a 3-year payback. That's crazy good.
Yeah.
And we should talk to the schools about how we might be able to phase in one of these projects so that we come in under the 100,000 and still get a big chunk of work done. So we could do exterior versus interior, 1 or 2 floors instead of the whole building, but
Thank you for the info. Yes, Fred?
I like all the LED lighting projects in 3 or 4 years. Makes a lot of sense. If it was my house and it was 4 years, I'd figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
So the post office doesn't pay the heating and cooling bills?
So they're paying the electricity here, because look at the rate is different. They're at 22 cents. Your town buildings are at 19. So they're not with us. And I assume, I think that's how that contract is written. It's a little bit unusual because it's a post office lease, but it is our responsibility to maintain all the utilities in working condition. They pay for the electricity.
So they would be getting the benefit?
Yeah. Because that's how lopsided that lease is. They get the benefit of everything and pay us diddly in rent.
Understood.
So there wouldn't be a
Linda?
second choice
What do you mean?
of all these quotes besides the post office?
Doesn't appear to be, right?
Okay.
I mean, I would say elementary school payback is less, but let's see if the project can be broken up or not.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just a little confused what we're looking for from this board right now. What can we do? Just
Continue more investigation, or?
You can, but if you want to green light the post office, because it'll at least give us something to chew on,
Good point.
right? Because when do we have to obligate the funds by?
Well, the application's not till July,
Yeah,
so.
that's what we're
coming
doing.
up
We're
fast
getting
period.
ready.
Right.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I can get revised estimates for the post office and the 2 LED schools. We can go from there. And I'll see if I can get them to break
Okay.
down the schools by exterior versus interior or by floors and see what they can do to get that under the 100K.
okay. By Ray, you have any comments? So
No, I'm good.
you think that's possible to get that information by next meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you okay with that? And then
Sure.
we can say move it forward, or? Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Okay, the next item is the municipal backup generator.
So I closed this project about an hour ago.
Wow. Ooh, good.
Acceptance of the work. So the crane was here this morning, took away the old generator and the stack. Last week, we did the testing and training for the automatic transfer switch
Yeah.
and the new generator. The new generator is shockingly quiet.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
It has run several times now, and nobody's said a word, so I will not tell you when it's on, because I don't want anybody to say, oh, now I hear it. That's right.
Yeah.
But when it does run, it runs for a fair amount of time, because it carries a load for a little while, and we're very pleased with the project.
Okay. So,
How about the exhaust? Any puffs of smoke, or?
I haven't
Wouldn't
seen
even
any
know?
puffs.
Okay. Just concerned because the neighbor is so close, you know?
I would not be surprised if during the summer, when people are more likely to have their windows open, they might say they notice it, but
But you wouldn't be running it unless it's an emergency, right?
it won't run for more than an hour unless we need it to be. We're in a kind of a heap of trouble if that generator's on, just saying.
Yeah,
I'm not going to run it for the sake of running it.
Right.
It's an emergency generator.
yeah.
but it automatically comes on once a day, or?
It is subjected to periodic testing
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Yeah,
on a regular schedule.
oh, good, okay. Yeah,
So, both as the condition of the police department's accreditation and our emergency operations center standards, it runs once a week
yep. Okay.
at load for about an hour.
So I do have one question. So who monitors, or, like Linda asked if there's any smoke?
Well, we wouldn't monitor any smoke, but we monitor when it's on, so
Oh,
Adam Furno and I have this stuff on our phone.
okay. All right,
If you ever want to borrow my phone, don't. Goes off all the time. Every time the janitor moves a sensor at the school department,
yeah.
the alarm goes off.
Oh,
'cause-
God.
But yeah, that's basically, a lot of this stuff is automated now and has connections to the internet and tells you how it's doing.
Okay,
So-
good. Anybody? Questions, comments? If not, we'll move on to municipal main roof replacement.
So nobody asked about the generator. I'm going to tell you, it closed just a little bit under budget. It was,
All right.
I would like a little bit more cushion at the end of a project, but it is under. On the main roof replacement, we
So
have,
we can remove that from our agenda now.
yeah,
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yep. And under budget. Okay. That'll be
the
shown.
main roof replacement,
Yep,
we awarded the contract to WPI Roofing out of Webster. Again, that's a contract that was signed in the last 24, 48 hours. I do not have a schedule for the work yet, but they do need to be finished by, I think, September 30th is the contract close date,
okay.
so we've got to get it done this summer.
Questions? And under budget?
Well, we won't know until they're finished, right?
Yeah.
But the bids, the 3 or 4 lowest bidders were all under the budget.
Wow, okay.
So
sounds
these
good.
the two lowest bidders were very close to each other and were a healthy distance from the budget.
Okay, questions, anybody? All right, municipal fire alarms still in place of when the roof is done? Okay. Hold on. Fire station upgrade,
So it made significant progress on this project, blah. We sorted out who's doing what, and we've set some deadlines. I anticipate going out to bid very soon
for the whole project?
for the electrical upgrade and HVAC upgrade in the existing building.
Okay,
The longer-term solution to the air quality issues and just the space constraints of the building,
yeah,
we've settled on, we're going to be recommending to the town a small addition basically a box on the side of the building where the large window is and the side entrance door. That side entrance door, if you can imagine, that would be a corridor now that goes in between two bunk rooms on either side of that corridor. Most of that large energy inefficient window on that side of the building that whistles every time the wind blows would be going away, which is going to solve another problem.
Is that where the opening
Yes, the
is?
front would be, I mean, you're still going to have a side door, because you need that egress for the people using the space. The model that we're looking to use in there is radiant heat in the floor and cooling and air handling with cassettes from a drop ceiling. As part of this project, McRitchie is going to is basically going to plan all of the utility connections to make the addition possible. So on that wall, all of the fixtures that will be needed, or all of the equipment that's needed to be connected to make the addition work, will be in place. All right? Last thing about that project, I made the decision today, because we kind of been back and forth about this. I don't know what the highway barn is going to look like in its final design. And it has been my intention that the storage tank for fuel for the heating plant and the generator at the fire station would be a dual-use tank and would also pump diesel to fire apparatus. And that is how we're going to spec this out. So the generator is going to be kind of like this one. It's going to sit on top of its tank, or I think it's going to sit alongside the tank, but it'll be a large rectangular tank with a pump system for fire apparatus and an apron to control that. As your procurement officer, I have the opportunity to buy fuel at different times of the year at very beneficial prices, provided I have a place to store it. And it's a game I don't mind playing because it's a lot of money. The difference between what a gallon of diesel fuel can cost you in the winter versus what it costs spot price right now is worth talking about. So I would do this even if I am able to do a fuel depot at the highway barn location. I would still do this so that we would have substantial amount of diesel available for our equipment. Under the proper storage conditions, obviously, it can't sit there forever, but we can play a game where we're price averaging and skipping over those most expensive months of the year.
In-ground tank?
No, in-ground is not allowed anymore.
No, I didn't think so.
Questions from
Would
that?
highway department also pump out of that tank? Or they're gonna have
They
their,
could, right? But that's, ideally, their campuses also going to have the same setup with larger tanks.
Anybody? Question? Is Weston and Sampson involved as house doctor on all of
On this one, yes.
Okay.
But they're focusing their attention now to the specking out the addition and coming up with a cost estimate for that.
Yeah.
And I think we're still putting one wall inside the building, but it's just a cosmetic wall to separate the bay area from some of the working space, but.
Okay. Great. Next item is stormwater management,
Or the lack thereof.
or the lack thereof. Yeah,
Sure, so that was passed over at town meeting.
yeah.
We're going to be forming a stakeholder committee and group.
I'm sorry, could you speak up a little, please?
And, yeah.
Yeah,
so-
sorry. We're going to be looking to form a stakeholder committee or group to review the stormwater bylaw. And I think now that the election is passed, I think the select board needs to vote to form that committee. I believe they'll be doing that at a future meeting.
So we've had a lot of conversation with our MS4 consultant. And getting down to brass tacks. Some of the aspects of the regulation, such as how much land can be cleared before you trigger coverage, is non-negotiable with the EPA and the DEP. You're not going to be able to change that and maintain compliance with your MS4 permit. However, a lot of the inspection, entry to property, and other provisions that were in the draft bylaw are not required and can be removed without jeopardizing your MS4 status. So my sincere hope is when we sit down with the stakeholder group and we explain exactly how the MS4 process works and why it's so important to the town, we can take out the things that a lot of people found very offensive and still end up with a workable stormwater bylaw. Going forward on our projects, and one of the reasons why I like this to be here is that there are facilities of the town that either already exist or need to exist that are being worked into projects, in some cases reliant upon the existence of an MS4 permit. So if we rebuild North Street in order to accommodate economic development at Pine Sand and Gravel up that roadway, and we're fixing a lot of problems, and we've been engaged with residents there now several times with 2 public meetings, but also additional follow-up work with people. We haven't gotten a lot of resistance to the project. One of the things we're doing is improving stormwater and making sure our stormwater system that is very old on North Street is functioning so we don't get icing on the road. And less icing means we spread less salt. I mean, there's just a lot of things we can do to be better stewards of our own asset as well as of the environment. So we're going to continue to do all those things because they're a necessary part of responsible management. The weather pattern has, over the last several years, has been for periods of really high-intensity precipitation in high quantities of precipitation over those short periods. The assets of the town were not built to deal with that anywhere in Worcester County. So you're looking at a county where the traditional rainfall levels were 26, 27 inches a year, maybe up to 29. In 5 of the last 10 years, it's been over 50. So it's just not the same, it's not the same Worcester County. It's different. And like it or not, when all that water piles up, it needs to go somewhere, and it can do a lot of damage when it's operating with the benefit of gravity. It picks up a lot of velocity, has tremendous amount of erosive power, and rather than have people's property damaged by it, we want to handle it with town resources in the public's right of way, in our streets. So we'll continue to do those things. I can update you as we go along. Our next project, road-wise, is probably going to be that portion of Northwest Maine that at the moment, I feel like you need a yellow submarine because the beavers have held the water back to the point where I feel like I'm driving on East Beach Road in Westport after a storm where the ocean is literally licking the edge of the road, right? So now you've got fresh water on both sides of Northwest Maine as you approach the common. And so we're trying to resolve the beaver issue to get the water levels down so that we can build up and repave portions of that road because it's pretty badly deteriorated in there, which is a better result than we got in Westport where the entire road was destroyed by the ocean and it's not there now. So you can drive through potholes if you want to on your way to Sylvan's Nursery. Which I'd recommend, by the way. It's a beautiful nursery. But so that's where we are with that.
I can relate to that, but in a different area in Northwest Maine. Near the state forest entrance, back end of the reservoir. Anyhow, it's very close. Some of it's on my property. We had a hurricane, and Northwest Maine kind of washed out, and White and Res was flowing into Lake Manchog. And people look at me and say, no way. My husband and I swam in the middle of the road, and the water was beautiful, crystal clear. Loved it. So, I hear you. Yep. Thank you for the input on stormwater management. I think
As for our other projects, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I'll keep going on the same riff. On South Street,
Yeah,
I think I'd like to declare victory there. There was a fair amount of controversy as we went along. We worked with the residents on the street
Yeah.
to get to good solutions. And after really heavy rainstorms, the system is functioning as designed. And for some, it has significantly reduced the amount of water going on their property. The only people it didn't fix were people who weren't getting our water in the first place. So further down as you approach that Hemlock,
yeah,
you've got one property that floods. That water's coming off the hillside, and it's not coming off the road. If you stand there,
you can see it.
it's like an old Coors Light commercial with the water coming down. Right?
Flowing
Not
off
use
the
beer
hillside,
advertising
right?
for
Yeah.
illustrative purposes, but it's a lot of flow, it's a significant amount of flow, and we don't handle that. That's not our,
Yeah,
we got to keep it off our road so it doesn't turn into ice, but it's not really our, I hate to say it, it's not really our problem, but it's not our problem. So if you build on the bottom of a hill, you are probably going to get some water.
yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for the update. Okay, we have vacant buildings in town, and we have a request from the Historical Commission to come and talk with us about buildings, some of that they're interested in as historic, I believe. Welcome, Dawn Fontaine, and,
Sarah Guymans.
yes.
Thank you. So this is kind of in the interest of sharing information across the committees and the boards in town, and Shirley had been good enough to let us know back in January that you were going to be doing the walkthrough, which we've all had a chance to watch. There's 5 of us on the group, but Sarah and I were the only ones who could make this meeting. So 2 things. We wanted to express our point of view for what you had more or less voted on in January, and then also just talk about cooperation, because I'm not sure, Matt, if you or anyone else is involved with the Community Preservation Act yet, but there could be a little bit of, I don't know, intersection with that, and for people who, that's more being led by the Open Space Committee, but there are potential grants that could be accessed if that were to go through, and we would want to have some buildings that would benefit from it if that were to happen. So you all walked through 4 properties, where we really concentrated on the 3 that were buildings, not so much the Buckeye pipeline. So 11 Gleason Court with the old grammar school, which you had recommended that that be sold to a developer if possible for minimal and keep the integrity of that building. So that building is like Fort Knox, from what we can see. It's like hasn't changed since 1898. So we're completely in agreement with that.
To sell it.
To sell it for minimal cost as long as the integrity of the building is kept, which again, I don't expect anyone would want to knock that down, because that's would be very expensive, and
So,
Not only that, we wouldn't agree to that.
yeah,
So if we sell it, it would be with significant conditions,
yeah,
dealing with everything from the facade to the layout of the property,
yeah.
but no tear down.
Okay, okay, great.
is there, just to keep
ahead.
them up to date, Matt, I believe you've been charged with negotiating with the school committee regarding the acreage, or?
I met with the school committee on May 1st, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, first Wednesday of the month. And they made a motion to approve that we transfer a back portion of the land that's behind the old grammar school to make it a more conforming lot. So I've commissioned some estimates for surveys to get that done.
Okay, so they're surveying the land, because we were looking at that last night in our meeting as well. It looked like there was various plots of land that could, it's not our decision, like, as far as what gets used for it, but we could see that it could be, there's some parking, some area that could be used for parking or that sort of a thing.
So,
The only other thing that we were able to determine from this process, is there's a lot of due diligence that's going into this, is that the town voted to accept Gleason Court. And of course, things are written. It was a modern thing, too. It wasn't even like the old days where you could blame them for saying from the corner of the barn to a pile of rocks. You can't say that, right? It wasn't that long ago. It was Bill
Yeah.
Cunda, for God's sake.
Yeah,
But when you look at what he laid out and the way he described it in terms of dimensions, the town accepted Gleason Court all the way up to the primary school
as town
as a
property?
town road.
Okay.
Which means that the old grammar school is a conforming lot. Once the setbacks are addressed, it will be a conforming lot.
Okay, so that makes it easier.
Happy day.
anything else?
That never happened.
So you'll be working on estimates
Yep.
to get that surveyed?
Yep. We reached out to the company that did the original survey for laying out Gleason Court, and I solicited bids from 2 others. We should be getting those pretty soon.
Okay. So more information maybe at the next meeting?
Yeah, so that was a related question we had. So do we, again, like 2 parts to it, like, do we have any rights as the historical commission, if you vote to take something down, can we, kind of counter that information, or at least can we be formally notified if something like that were to happen?
Yeah, you can be. But I would think it would be the only right thing to do, would be to
Oh.
notify you.
Okay.
But maybe clarification, what is your charge, as a commission?
Right,
We need more, just for the town, or your sake.
right.
The
It would be-
commissions.
It would be I'm not sure if we're supposed to know that, but I don't know exactly what our rights are. We do from time to time get mail that says that so-and-so is planning to knock down a property, and we are, give our input on that. We've never had a battle with anybody on it, so I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, so all of this is going to predate my time here.
Yeah,
There are different levels of authority, right?
Yeah.
So once you have a federally designated historic district, and the commission can have significant influence over what is allowed, Douglas never took those steps.
right.
So you've got your book, so the survey was done, but that is where it stopped. There's a
Right.
local commission, and I think it's mostly consultative. I don't know that you're necessarily completed the designation process. I didn't get the feeling,
Oh, as far
Reading
as
the-
the district?
Yeah.
No, I was thinking more,
the survey named buildings and actually outlined the potential for a part of town to be a district.
yeah,
But in the way that I'm used to dealing with it,
yeah.
like Main Street, Woonsocket is a historic district, so you can't just
Okay.
paint everything pink,
Right.
because somebody somewhere can stop you from
So
doing that
that-
because it's on the Federal Register and,
That sounds like a local historic district where there are bylaws that if it was local, we'd do bylaws and say you couldn't, tear this down
Yeah.
without something happening, or paint it, or whatever it would be. So I think it's called Old Douglas, is a federally recognized historic district where the gazebo is. There's certain properties
Yeah.
in there.
yeah, and I think that's why you did the scenic road and some of the other designations that were done.
Yeah, and we'd like to do some signs, but that's another subject. And we're also working on, and part of this, we're also working on a new district, which would be more Main Street and
Downtown area.
downtown. Right, with 200-plus properties.
Now, if my memory serves me, because this is a long time ago, a lot of the work that was done in Douglas was in conjunction with the town's effort to join the Blackstone River National Heritage Corridor.
That part, that hasn't
might
come
have
up
been-
in ours, but might.
1992-ish.
So that was right around 1990, 91, where they did the Douglas Center District, so it might well have been part of that.
When Jim
That's
Pepper
for
came
us.
through with the signs, with those fancy signs, and
Yeah.
then a Hilltop Village, and there's some others along in
Yeah,
Sutton
yeah.
as well. That was about the time that Douglas was added to the corridor.
Okay. Okay, and that was around the time again with that district. So that,
Over-
again, that's a federal district. So the there's no bylaws, there's nothing like that, but it does have the benefit of being able to access certain grants and things like that, that it wouldn't be if it wasn't a historic property.
So over beer someday, I will tell you all the story of how Senator Chafee and I went to the House Natural Resources Committee to ask for reauthorization of the Blackstone Valley
Oh, really?
National Heritage Corridor, and the chairman of that committee was Congressman Young of Alaska. Now, if you know what Senator Chafee and Congressman Young did not see eye to eye on the Arctic National Wildlife Reservation, it was a very difficult ask.
Yeah, I would like to hear that story. Rhode Island is really good about all that stuff, but anyway. So.
On the
so-
middle school, I mean, on the old elementary school,
We seem to be in agreement.
Yes,
I
so.
mean, the grammar school.
grammar school.
grammar
I'm
school.
Grammar
I know. Two schools. So
Okay.
the other one is the Douglas Center School on Main Street. So we did a little digging, and that is actually on that National Register of Historic Places from the center. So that the Douglas Center School is, it doesn't exactly have a formal protection, but the fact that it is on the National Register of Historic Places should, be considered. It's, we think it's a valuable property to the town. There isn't like a real story behind it other than it being a school, but we feel that that one should be preserved as much as possible.
Even though it was built in the 30s, I think?
That was built in 1900.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thought it was in the...
Now, the Brown House that you all, the
So,
Brown House?
Oh, it
just-
says year built 1920.
Just, so you're in agreement with,
We're in agreement with the grammar school.
yeah,
The center school, I don't know if you all had like an exact decision on that one, but we feel that one should be preserved because it's on the National Register. It's a decent building, but we would like to see some protection from vandals and the water that's getting into it.
My recollection is we just decided not to do anything at this time.
Yeah, our
could be in our minutes, I'm
Our
not sure.
present thinking internally is we want to save the building and reuse it. There are, some of our programs in town need more space.
Yeah.
Now, for folks listening at home, this isn't a matter of just moving stuff.
Right.
So the library in particular is a challenge. The floors at both of the buildings, the old grammar school and the central, we'll call it the central school to make distinction, are not rated to carry the kind of weight that stacks of books.
Oh, really? Because even those, the way the old construction is?
You would think so,
Yeah.
but they're really not made for that.
Okay.
And, there's a possibility a structural engineer might sign off, but they're also old.
Yeah.
So it's not the ideal situation for books. But as for program space, in particular, the central school, I mean, I expressed this, I think, on the video, I'll express it again. I think it's a very warm, welcoming space. It's, it was designed to feel that way because it was a school. So I'd hate to see anything happen. Now, one of the things that's nice, people can grouse all they want to, but one of the things that's nice about the electrification conversation is that we now have a lot more flexibility about how we deal with the heating, cooling, and ventilation needs of an existing building.
So it doesn't have to be
Especially if it's wood frame construction and there's things that we can do
Yeah.
around the perimeter. And we're not talking about having to get a whomper of a furnace and a boiler into the basement and reinstall everything and do all the plumbing.
Yeah.
A lot of these systems don't even require ductwork. So I'm holding out that, but the thing is, the sense of urgency has to be that we make a decision and do something within the next 2 or 3 years. Because
exactly.
3 years from now, the building's going to be that much older and
Yes.
getting further and
We
further
looked at
away
a
from us.
Picture 10 years ago, and it was that much better at that point. The notes that I have from yours were more related to the Brown House next door, which we have no problem. That one looks like it's older because of the foundation, but it's just a newer house built on an older foundation. So we have no problem with that one. You all had talked about prioritizing the center school with the capital committee because of safety concerns there. That was a part that we weren't like totally clear on. Like if you vote to tear something down or whatever, does it always go to capital to decide if the funds are there, or is there another step?
Which school are you talking about when you say the center school?
Douglas Center School, the former
At Main
VFW.
Street?
The Veterans Hall.
Yeah, up near the Douglas Center.
The elementary school.
Yeah,
Okay, I never knew it as the elementary school.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
brick
We call it the
building is
Douglas
the
Center.
grammar school.
Right.
Yeah.
The old VFW hall.
Elementary, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the modern element.
Yeah,
I'm like, center school, where's that? Is that another one?
Okay, go ahead.
I think I said everything.
What's it called on the registry, though?
It's called the Center School, Douglas
Douglas
Center
Center
School, on the Historic Register.
Oh, yeah, it's center school on our
Yeah,
assessors.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But different people in town know it as
Yeah.
different things, depending on when you move to town.
Some people might call it a prison if they were.
And then the fire station was the last.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure Shirley's got the notes on what we,
And also, there was an issue with the foundation, wasn't it?
Right, so that's why it needs to go to
be
capital.
Pointed.
Yeah.
The repair that will take is a capital level project. It's
Okay.
not something I can do from the operating budget.
okay.
And even the red house that's scheduled, it's a tear down.
The one that's near the,
You guys didn't vote funds for that in the end.
No, but that was recommended, and it has been for a couple years now, because of the cost of getting that, what will take, because it's
Yeah.
asphalt, you got to pay for where are you going to deposit,
Asbestos.
Asbestos, I'm sorry. Yeah.
okay. So the last one was the old fire station on Cottage Street. So this has quite a bit of history. This is the one that's a little difficult. I know you had voted to tear down the tower. I don't know if that's a foregone conclusion. So this was built in 1900.
I think it's 18, I thought it was 1882, but I'd have to check the building report again. But
Yeah,
I'm
that
pretty
was.
sure it was
I think-
1882.
I think you're confusing it with the center school. Anyway. So it was built in 1900. There was it housed the Fire King, which was sold to Henry Ford in 28. It housed the library at one point. The tower was remodeled and used as an air raid center for plane spotting, and it was held the whistle for the Hayward. When the Hayward Mill whistle was gone, it was instead used as a fire siren in that building. So it does have a fair amount of history, but if it's safety concerns, that kind of thing, we're understanding. But one thing we wanted to ask is, could it be something that a structural engineer were to look at that tower before it's decided to go down?
Would that be a lot of money? Because just as a layperson, I don't think that thing was even safe the day they,
Yes, possibly.
and,
Correct.
and it used to have these big steel cables that went from the ground up to it. Those are long gone.
The cables are there, but they're just hanging.
They're just hanging, yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing holding it up, but probably.
Well, are we confusing two things?
There's a
Metal
wooden.
tower versus the
Right.
wood
No,
tower.
I'm talking about the wooden tower was held up by, and just as a, I know a little bit about construction, I'll look at that thing, I'm surprised it's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested to find out from a structural engineer what they thought, but would it be worth putting money towards?
Yeah, I don't know
that?
how much we're talking.
So maybe an estimate of, just to,
Start with the
is that
estimate.
We'd even have to pay for an estimate, I would think.
Yeah, unless Weston and
friendly
Sampson could, I don't know, if that could fall under their,
It's the town's.
Yeah, well, they do have qualified staff at Weston, and maybe that's the most cost-effective way to address it.
What's Weston?
Weston and Sampson is
Okay.
our house doctor,
house doctor.
architectural engineering. So we're under contract with them.
Okay. Well, I just want to clarify that we're not suggesting that it be used. It's more just like, there would be, maybe be no access to it, but if possible, if it makes financial sense, just try to keep it because of the history related to it.
Does anybody know when that was put up? Was it World War II or?
According to Lucius Marsh, it says it was remodeled in 1942. It doesn't say it was added.
The tower
so-
itself
The
or
tower.
the building?
The tower.
The building is
tower was remodeled.
1900, and the tower was remodeled, so we haven't been, we didn't have enough time to confirm if it was started in 1900 and was just remodeled in 42, or if it was somehow added.
I think I've seen 2 pictures where the tower looks different.
Okay, so it was there from day,
I think the tower's probably the original, this got changed
okay.
in the remodel.
So it's probably not the original tower.
So are you talking about the
The
wooden
wooden
tower?
tower.
Yes.
I think most of that is pretty bad shape.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
There was, I did have a nice picture, I think Adam Furno, it's an old copy, and I'm not sure where it is,
It's from the
but,
town report.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looked beautiful. Unfortunately, it didn't have any work
Yeah.
put into it.
Right, right, and that's,
Pass this around. This was it before that closed as a fire station. So it's actually was not looking too bad before then.
Yeah.
so what year would that have been?
You know, I think it served up until the new one was, so
Okay.
probably
Does
like
that look
late
like the tower
90s,
that's there
early
now?
2000s. I think the new one opened.
nice
in, what,
picture.
2000,
That is.
2001.
Anybody want to see this? Pass it around.
It was
Yeah.
looking way better than, oh, just squeeze the side, it'll come back.
Yeah.
Hopefully the side. My password. Well,
She's good.
does it work?
Well, you just bought like 100
Oh,
shares
okay.
of
You have to enter my password.
Huawei.
GameStop.
GameStop.
Okay.
13 Bitcoin. Exactly 13.
So, where are we?
So we're still talking about the fire station.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
that's before it closed. It still looked pretty decent.
yeah, I guess our question is, you know,
want
can we go the Weston and Sampson
Before
route at
time's
least
out.
to get an idea of
You
what
got
could
30
be?
seconds.
I remember it.
So, Matt, any comment on that? Depends on the cost to the town.
Yeah, I guess,
Could it come under there?
you know, that's one of those things where it's like, we just got to get an estimate on what it would cost to shore the place up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it would be a shame to lose it
right.
in many ways.
And,
But it is in really rough shape. I think we all agree the metal building at tower
Metal
needs to come
tower.
down because it's a safety concern.
Yeah.
It's not a historic structure.
no, that one we have no problem, yeah.
And again, it will cost money just to get that down.
Yeah. Although if the whistle is around somewhere, tempted to find it.
Memorial Day Parade.
Every day at noon.
Okay. So you will let us know if that's possible.
I mean, maybe there's a, you know, a difference in like the cost it would be to save it versus the cost to demo it, you know, which would make the most sense.
Yeah, because we're trying not to be
We-
unreasonable.
Yeah, right. But we would like to see it saved if possible because of its historic
No,
significance.
one other question on the building itself, not so much the tower. I believe from the walkthrough, you all thought it was in pretty good shape, like it wasn't at risk of falling down or anything like that. But the roof looks, the photos look like the roof is sagging a little bit. I don't know if anything like that
Well,
needs to
also
be
it's
addressed.
missing its front, like the, I don't know if that's,
Fascia board.
yeah, exactly, right. Yep, but it looks like that could hopefully be closed up and
Just to try to avoid later.
Well, I think Fred brought that up.
Well, maybe Weston's could look at that too, because
Yeah.
nobody else is.
Right. Point. Okay.
If they're there looking at the tower.
I think someday when we're doing ladder truck training, if long as the lines aren't too close, I'm not remembering where the power lines are, but you can sneak up there and take
They
a
can
look
look
at
at
it.
it. Okay, that's a good idea.
Thanks.
Might consideration also be if that tower, the wood tower, does come down, it might take out that building with it. and
Yeah.
Destroy the building.
Oh. Well,
We need
from
some,
the back end of it, it almost looks like it's pretty much built into the buildings.
Yes. Yep.
But across the view from the back.
Yeah,
So it's like,
I'm just thinking that was.
yeah, right.
So,
So the one thing I'm torn, because I do need to go soon, because
Yeah.
of
I
childcare
do too.
turns into a pumpkin. The Wallace Devise, and I know that's an elected position, and I know that there's not very much money left in the Devise. I think there's very little.
But that's to maintain,
The clock tower on the post office. I don't know if there's been any discussion in town of what to do if the Devise runs out of money. It's a fairly significant architectural feature of the building, and adds a lot to the character of the town.
Yeah.
So what are you saying, that where?
I'm just throwing it out there. It's
But the
town.
clock is already in, so what's the expense?
You're saying to maintain
What if
it?
the clock stops?
Oh, well, yeah. Might be
not gonna
100
run
years
forever.
from now or tomorrow.
Right. That's a mechanical device, so at some point, it's not going to work anymore.
Well, that's not on our list.
It's not on your agenda, it's not on your list, but I think I'd like to pursue the conversation at some point, since we're talking about historic buildings.
Yeah.
but,
You can't forget about it now, because
yeah. I
if
think,
they invest their $2,000 in a really good CD, it might grow to 2,100 by the time you need it.
Yeah, right, depending on what we need it.
that's, well, I was like, okay, so it has been self-sufficient, I believe, but this is the first I've heard of running out
So
of,
the account balance will be in your town report.
okay.
It's one of the funds that,
For May. Nobody said.
it's one of the funds managed by the town treasurer.
Okay.
So the financial disclosures in the annual report have to include the balances in those accounts. I think
Okay.
you'll find there's not much money in it.
Okay.
But in the context of what we do with these other buildings, if we have a limited amount of resources, both for the Historic Commission and the BFCC, what is your priority?
It's hard to decide.
That is a good,
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd probably say that we all appreciated the center school more than any of them.
I think it would be a high priority.
Yeah. So, and that one had the best potential resolution.
So we're at a point where you, as a commission, what are you planning to do as far as further expanding historic areas, I think?
Yeah, well,
And where are you getting your funding, or what you're recommending?
yeah. Our funding is very minimal, and our focus has been on doing the downtown district. I believe Cottage Street is part of that district, so the fire station will be part of that district. Gleason Court, I need to double check. I think that's part of it as
I think so.
well.
I think those are your boundaries, actually.
Yeah,
The only other thing you might take in is the Sokol Hall. I don't know why I think that, but I think that.
yeah. Yeah, the Sokol Hall is important too, but that's owned separate, not a town building.
And we're still.
Not a town building,
No.
Out of
just saying.
our 227 properties,
Yeah.
we're choosing a handful to highlight for the district. So we're still kind of picking through, like, obvious things pop into your mind, like the library and the junk store and, those places. But we're also choosing like individual properties, houses, or, just
Mill
different.
buildings.
Right, mill buildings, different places to highlight as like featured, basically, places for the district.
Yeah, and we would hope if the CPA can move forward, that we can access grants in that way as well. But once that district is done, there can be access to various grants for the public buildings, not so much for the privately owned, yeah. So.
So I think you need to really keep an eye or get a committee going, or within your committee, information on the CPA.
We're attending the CPA's meet. It's led by Open Space, so we're
Yep.
participating in their meeting.
Because a lot of information there, and some people will be opposed to, again, part of it, because
Right.
it's money.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, we're talking about information, like just sharing back and forth with them.
Sure.
for Ways to share information with the town
Yeah,
people.
but the town, I do know the town of Mendon, town of Upton, town of Northbridge has done some really good stuff
Yeah.
with money, but they've had money in that
For
program.
20 years.
Yeah,
Right.
It does take a while
yes.
to build up.
All right, so keep us posted
Well, thank you.
what you're moving forward with, and
Okay.
appreciate your letting us know.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know first.
Anybody, questions, suggestions, comments? Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Your next thing is the library, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to stay, but.
All right. Move ahead. Okay. Next item is library, the Board of Trustees. I
I
thought
Justin was
Justin
going
was
to
here.
come back, and I don't know what
Well,
happened.
Yeah,
I am in kind of fast mode, so
yeah.
Yeah,
with Weston completing so much of their work,
yeah.
I feel like now I can task them with
Okay.
giving us an estimate of an estimate.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew we were a little bit behind
Okay.
on getting
And that's-
Yeah.
them to look at it.
But
so.
once now that we're getting good throughput on the work, I'm going to ask them to just maybe have a conversation with the library director,
Yeah,
because it's going to be back of the envelope. It's not going to be a really sophisticated document at all, but it'll give you a ballpark sense.
okay.
Good.
All right?
Yeah,
Electrical charger replacements, the town meeting vote made the funds available. I've entered into a contract. We're going to install, the vendor is called ChargePoint. For those of you with EVs, you've seen those in most towns. They're orange, a big plus sign on them. And I'm just about finished writing a policy for the select board to vote on for charging money to use the chargers. Now that we're close to finally solving this problem, I'll disclose what my concern was with charging with what we have. Charging money to use chargers that don't work.
yeah.
The biggest problem with them not working properly was that they were not regularly communicating with the vendor, with the software vendor. So if someone had their charge card information and they initiated a charge session and then the station either didn't report back the transaction or wasn't reporting the transaction in a secure manner, it was an unnecessary, at least an inconvenience, at most an exposure for the town that I wasn't willing to engage. So if there was no money changing hands, there was nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was defaulting to that. ChargePoint's a very reliable provider, and so I expect this work to be done very quickly. It'll probably take half a day in the next few weeks, and we'll be charging people for the convenience of hooking up, for the energy they use, and if they stay way too long, they'll probably see a penalty for hogging it. Basically,
Yep.
you can sit on a charger and not take any energy off it and sit there for like 12 hours, and nobody else can use it while you're there. It's kind of that public laundromat thing. Do I take the people's stuff out of the dryer or not? In this case, you're touching their car, expensive car, so it's not really cool. So, but if you're going to sit and make it unavailable to others, you're going to pay
Yeah,
a couple bucks an hour for that. And that is the going rate. So I've charged my vehicle in Sutton, Uxbridge, Medway, so I've seen these policies in place in different places. I think it's going to be a sound policy, but we should have all four operational, and I don't have the data in front of me.
okay.
But before anybody gets any theories about who uses this, over the last 30 days, we had 17 different people, 17 different users, phones, charging over the course of some 38 sessions.
Wow.
So I was only accounted for 7 of those, so, and mine were all short. So only 10% of the energy was used under my employment contract. The rest was used by the public. So I think if we had 4 operational units, we would have a more loyal following. And we don't have to charge a ton of money. As long as we recoup our costs, and out-of-town people, I think they should pay more, right? Taxpayers already paid their taxes, but if you're on the highway and you need to stop here and sit for a couple hours, you can pay the market rate, as far as I'm concerned. So that's kind of where we're going with that. But that work should be done with minimal disruption to the town hall.
All right. Hopefully it does, yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to plow right through ARPA funding. We've discussed, just to remind everyone, the fire station project is ARPA. The only other thing, major project I've got right now under ARPA funding, where we're nearing the completion of design for the school security system. Good thing we have ARPA funds, because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But we've scoped out a very robust design for all 4 buildings. And it goes hand in hand with hiring an SRO and some other things that we've done to harden up the buildings. We are going to leverage a considerable amount of existing equipment. So we've done a full workup on what we have in place, and we're going to maximize the use of it. So we're not just throwing stuff away.
Good.
But some of the cameras that are out there really don't work that well. They're very old. And so they need to go. The design should be finished this week. We'll be out to bid, and we want this work done this summer. The only other ARPA project is getting this building up to snuff for fire systems and running the water up Depot Street and upgrading that pipe. And a lot of that work has been done. So the survey, you've seen the surveyors out here.
Yes.
You probably saw the coring team looking at what kind of dig it's going to be. So we've progressed.
Right.
So we'll be heading to design on that.
Do you have any estimate, Matt, as to when that would start, the whole digging and so forth?
So right now, I would rule out this year.
Okay.
I've got to obligate it by December 31st in a contract. But as long as I have a contract in place, I've met the
Yeah.
rule. I would look for next construction season, so 2025.
Okay.
I can only have so many roads and things torn up in this town at the same time
Okay.
before people start to get frazzled by it.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Good. Thank you. Anything else? You good? Questions for anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
Linda?
really have to do with the ARPA funds, but I know you want to leave. And speaking of roads being torn up, at North Street to Gilboa, that was dug up last summer. And I don't know if it was this meeting or another board meeting I watched, but you had said it was very poor asphalt.
yep.
And I've noticed it is falling apart, especially around the monument area on North. What's the status of that?
So our goal is to have all of that work, all of that pavement stripped off and replaced by June 30th.
From the original?
Yeah. So the
Vendor.
town did not accept the work provided by the pavement
Good.
company.
Okay.
This will not be at taxpayers' expense. It's at the paving company's expense. The mix was too coarse, and it was put down, it was kind of cold, and it didn't take at all. So
Has to be a
it's a
certain
combination of
temperature.
a
Yeah.
poor mix and some poor planning. They
Okay.
got caught in traffic with their loads on the back of their truck. They got caught in traffic on the pike. So unacceptable. I would like for the northeast main job to be done before they start stripping. They are 2 different companies under different contracts with the town. So push comes to shove, it's the June 30th date that really has to be hit, because we want to close all of those grants, both the federal and the MassWorks grant, in order to apply for another MassWorks. They're really not excited about giving us any more money until we're finished the first project. And in that set of circumstances, I mean, we are pretty much at the point where the finished coat should go down on Northeast Main this weekend, so weather willing, it's Saturday. The road will be closed, period. You can't be driving your car over freshly laid finish coat, let alone a truck with a load on it. So we're going to be pretty rigid about shutting that down this weekend to get it done. Once that's done, then the following week, we're hoping to see, or first 2 weeks of June, see CJP and their vendor come back and completely resolve those issues up to the edge of the parking lot for the mill. Now, there's some work, additional work that needs to be done to raise, the structures weren't properly handled
Yeah.
on that stretch of Gilboa up to the Shell station.
Yeah.
So you can't make this stuff up, right? This is like municipal reality TV. They actually gave us 1.5 inches more than the spec. So they put too much pavement down without raising the structures. So they have to come and raise the structures, and
Oh.
you'll see them cutting around the manholes, installing concrete, you've seen this before.
Yeah.
In another ring, and then a pavement repairs to bring it back up to level, but it's a brand-new road, and yet you find yourself doing the giant slalom
You
because you
think
don't
as
want
they were
to.
doing it when they came across the first.
You think?
Hey, hey, this isn't.
You think,
Like common
Just keep going.
sense, right? Oh, my,
not my problem. That's a lot of these guys driving and digging, that's not their problem. So
Yeah.
we made it their problem.
thank you.
There was some last-minute work done by the gas company. They will be coming with a giant infrared machine and really heating that whole section up and going over it to get rid of some of the joints that are there and to level things off where they dug on the bridge when they had the leak
The
to
gas,
the storm drain that wasn't connected to anything. Yeah, that went, yeah.
yeah. Was that the gas? Was that the gas leak or the water leak?
No, it was gas.
Yeah, okay.
Well, thank you.
I pay attention.
Yeah, the water leak, we're still working on the water.
Glad that's going to get fixed.
But yeah, no, so, yeah, you'll notice it's deteriorating very rapidly, so.
Looks
it-
like
it's
the first
total
road in
junk.
the subdivision.
It doesn't even look like binder. It wouldn't be good enough to be binder, no. It's junk.
Okay. Any other questions before Matt has to go?
You have to listen to that Big Dig podcast. It's those issues times 10,000. It's the same kind of issues. The mix is wrong, the leak is.
Right? Any questions? No?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have to go.
I appreciate the,
Yep.
the
Thank you
tolerance.
for the
but
information.
Perfect storm when my wife works and I'm here.
I understand.
All right. See you guys.
All right, I think we're good. Minutes of March 19th, right? No.
Yeah, I had a few
Yeah, okay,
corrections on the second page.
yeah.
Oh, let's see. The G, right in kind of the middle.
H-I, under G- oh, okay, yeah.
Speaking of, is it the elementary school or the grammar school? So it says they are still doing some research on the old elementary school building. That's the grammar school, right? The one downtown on Gleason Court. So from here on in, it needs to be the grammar school, unless somebody called it elementary that night.
Right.
So that's
Right.
grammar?
Yep. And, next sentence or two, it says, and Ms. Keegan last week, and they ask, A-S-K-E, there's no E, I mean, it should be
Yeah.
asked, A-E-D.
E-D, oh, yeah.
And then further below in that paragraph, there is still some, with a developer for the old elementary school, it should be grammar. And that's all I have.
Anybody else?
A couple more on the front page.
Sure.
This is under administrative reports, item B, stormwater management.
Yeah.
Reads, Mr. Fitzpatrick had asked you to consider adding the village residential R to the bylaw. I think that's area to the bylaw.
Ah, yes,
Let me just check up that. Okay.
right in the middle of the
Adding the village residential area, right.
And on the following sentence, he suggested getting it on the warrant as is
Yeah.
now to comply, or as time is now to comply? I'm not sure how that
as
should
is now to comply. I don't know.
No, it's,
Okay.
I
As is.
believe it's as is.
Okay.
And not changing,
That must be what
Okay.
was said.
yeah.
Okay, and one other item is number 2E, municipal replacement. They're out to bid for this electronic bidding services. The bid packages are due the first week in May, and he is hopeful by the fall. I know it's Mr. Wojcik, that should read Mr. Wojcik because it's a different item than the one above it. Instead of he, it should just read Mr. Wojcik.
Oh, and he is hoping, okay. Mr. Wojcik,
Yes.
So where are you putting that?
instead of the word "he" in the second sentence,
So bid packages are due the first week in May, and he is hopeful.
Okay, so Mr. Wojcik?
Yeah, because it's a separate
Yeah.
paragraph.
Yeah,
Should have
I
it by
gotcha.
name.
Oh, anything else?
Yes. On paragraph G, fifth line down.
oh, towners.
Yeah, you
I
got
had that
it.
one too, I
Yeah,
forgot.
17th meeting, there's a motion to destroy the towners at the old
Towers.
fire station. Be the tower, or the tower,
Let me
right?
catch up.
Well, it was it both towers we wanted to destroy? Or just the one, the
I
fire?
think it was both.
Okay.
Yeah, it might have been with an S, towers.
So, hold on,
And
hold on.
Can you find it?
No,
Huh?
no.
It's up at the top of G. Like,
Oh, okay.
you got it?
No, in
Towers.
the area. Yep. Oh,
Yep.
yeah. TOW.
Like a county.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yep.
And further down in the same sentence where it was corrected to be asked him, the same sentence, I'm not sure Dr. Vieira's name is spelled correctly. Is it V-I-E-R-A?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Just-
So who said that, Matt?
I don't think there's two I's in his name.
Okay.
Just-
Matt Wojcik, yeah.
Anything else?
Superintendent. Just wanna check. Oh, it is spelled correctly, never mind.
Okay.
Nope, that was it.
Anybody? Anybody else?
I make a motion to approve the March 19th, 2024 meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
Linda and Fred. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. And then we have April 17th.
I didn't find one thing.
I don't believe I did either. No? Anybody? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Linda, and we'll give it to Bob. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. Opposed? So voted. All right, and just to bring you, your attention to upcoming meetings, June 12th and July 17th. If you have any problems with those dates at this point, let us know. I understand if something comes up, but I always send out, make me aware if you're not available, because we need to have a quorum, and we don't have much to play with here as far as people. Yeah, Fred?
Would anybody object to moving them back to earlier in the day, like we were doing it for a while?
10 o'clock.
Yeah, I was thinking the summer evenings, we might not want to be here, you know. But in the morning is better.
We adjusted it to make accommodations for first one person and then the other, and
Ask Ray.
Ray,
Yeah.
what's the best for you? Timing.
I usually try to maneuver my schedule around and see where I'm at. I mean, obviously I've been traveling a lot lately, so if I can still do it on Zoom, I certainly will. So it doesn't matter, either one.
Well, I'm fine with 10 o'clock.
But staff-wise, Matt,
Works for
Benoit,
me, I don't know how it works for Mr. Wojcik.
You got to be here for master plan anyway.
Yeah.
but 10 o'clock in the morning?
Sure. Well, no, he's going to be here anyway.
Yeah,
You won't run into babysitting issues.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Very true.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with 10 o'clock.
Okay, would you,
So do you want to make a motion?
no, wait a minute.
Oh.
Hold it.
Oh,
So, would you check
Sure.
with Mr. Wojcik too?
Yeah.
And if it's okay, and see if Jen can get it on the cable? And then let me know, or have her let me know, and we can change it.
Sure.
do we need to motion to change it, or would that just be it?
I think just an agreement.
So once we put a draft in front of you, you can vote on that.
Yeah,
So we'll still meet at 4 o'clock next month?
yeah,
Till
we
then.
should. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other topics not already listed and anticipated 48 hours ago? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Is that 5:30?
Second?
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted at what time?
5:30?
5:30, okay.